Hi everyone. We're going to make a card today using all die cut pieces and coloured cardstock. So the only stamping will actually be for the sentiment, which I've got ready prepped here, just to save a bit of time. So what I'll do, I'll walk you through what we've got, the things we're using, and then I'll start to make the card. So the stamp set that I've got here is the Mana Terrific stamp set from Fawn, and I'm going to use the Celebrate, which I thought was funny, stamp for the sentiment. And then I've also got two other Fawn products here. These are the shadow box card, which creates the shadow box, which is what we're going to do. Sorry, that made no sense. And then this is a shadow box card add-on, which is the ocean add-on, which are the extra pieces to make an ocean themed excuse me, ocean themed card. But when you get these, you do get a ton of other things. So when you buy the shadow box card, you do get like trees and a little bird. This, I think, even though it's a tree, I reckon you could kind of get away with that as an egg for Easter. I don't know, possibly. And some smaller trees over here, and also the pieces that will create your hills. And then in the ocean add-on, you get a banner, which is quite handy. You also get like a decorative frame, which is what I've done with it. I've used to cut out the opening. And some obviously ocean themed things. So you've got little whales, stars, like starfish, shells, some bubbles, some seaweed. These little pieces will actually sort of cut. They cut like a shape in there, they don't die cut the thing out. So they just give you this wave effect on the these two pieces. And these two obviously represent waves, so hopefully it'll make sense in a bit. But this is kind of the idea that you're aiming for, is a shadow box card, and to write your like sentiments to your whoever's going to receive it, you're going to write on the back of the card. So what I'll start with is the main panel. So there's a main panel in here. So this piece, this sort of largest piece here, you're going to cut two of those, and then with the decorative frame out of the add-on, so this piece here, you're going to line up and cut a hole, basically, or an opening in this. So these are both the same. There's a score line here and a score line here with a tab. Same on this one. So this is what it will cut out, and then this is what will happen when you put one of the frames in there. So on the actual shadow box set, the main components, you'll get an oval that you can cut out. You can also get a rectangle for this piece, and then these extras, as well as this rectangular piece, you can still use those as a whole piece on the side to add like an extra layer. I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to keep it really simple for you guys. And excuse the the paper in the background. There's a lot of glare going on, so we're on white paper now. And then I've also die cut the little whale. I've put his water on there already, just to save a bit of time. So he's got his little water spout. I've cut some bubbles, I've cut some seaweed, and I've cut some shells out. These are the two waves that will cut out. There'll be little score lines on the ends that you just fold over to create, each layer in the in your box. And they're two different styles of wave, which is quite nice. What I was going to say as well, the piece that cuts out of here, so the leftover, which is this piece, don't throw this away, because this would make quite a nice, if you had like a larger sentiment, that would make quite a nice piece on a card, or you could use it for either a sentiment, like I say, or a an image. So don't throw that away. I thought that was quite a nice decorative panel that you could use on something else. But obviously you don't need it for here. And then this piece I've cut measures, let me just check again, 3 1/4 by 2 3/4, and this is going to go in the back of our box so that you've got like a background inside. So I think what I'm going to do, ooh, I've got my paper taped here. I think the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to put this together. So, no, I don't want to do that. I haven't done this yet, but I've seen enough videos, so hopefully this will work. I need tape. Tape, where are you? Oh, didn't want to do that. No, we don't need that one. Organised chaos. So on the little tabby pieces, I'm going to put some adhesive all along that edge on both of them. And so when it comes to putting them together, this is really easy. So you've got the tab pieces to the right. This is your, I guess if you're looking at it like that, this is the shorter edge. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the tape off of one, if I can, and you're going to line up the edge with the edge. Does that make sense? So you're going to line up the top and the bottom, and then you just move that over, and that helps to, that secures it in there. So there's one part of your box. So now you've got this long piece. So essentially this is going to become your box. See? So this is the, let's see. So now what we want to do is we want to get some tape on these two. I'm going to get some stronger tape for that. And it should be, I don't really like this tape, but it is a much stronger, but it's also thinner. So again, you're going to put the tape on these little tabs. If I can. Well, that won't cut. You'll have to bear with me because this is the first time, like I say, that I've done this. So I'll explain as best I can. Right, so now you decide which one you want in the front and which one you want in the back, and I think actually I'm going to put this in the back. So what you're going to do, let me just try and sort of pre-do it before I do it, if that makes sense. So what I want is, you're going to be working on the narrower pieces, so not your back panel, not your front panel, but on these pieces that will create the sides. And what we're going to do is we're going to layer these on inside so that they will create this, your scenery basically. Oh, I hate this red tape. Right, so you're going to take the sticky off one, and then because I want a little bit of depth, like so, I want to line up this one, which is my back panel, about here, and just make sure that it's somewhat straight. This will make sense in a second. Somewhat sort of evenly, what's the word, parallel, is that the word? Anyway, and then you're going to take the other piece and do the same thing, but obviously in the next position. So what you're going to do, you're going to have this one here, which is going to create your back piece, and then you want to move this over, but because I want that to be a you know, I want this one higher than this one, I'm going to just lower this slightly, and then again lining it up. I want to make sure that's stuck. So what will happen is when we then close this, this is what you're going to land up with. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. And I probably could have put this one slightly lower, but that's okay. Now before we stick this on to close it, we need to stick this back panel in. So I'm just going to grab this. Before I do that, and just make sure it's going to actually fit in there. Right, so I would trim that. So I'm just going to quickly trim that and I'll be back. Right, so I've trimmed that, but the reason I trimmed it is I cut it to the size I gave you guys earlier in the video, but when you've got folded cardstock and then cardstock that's sort of, you know, stuck together, so pieces on, you know, where we've sort of stuck these two together to join it, making it one long piece, it does get a bit crowded in there. So use the size I gave you as a guide, and then just trim it slightly on the lengthways. The height should be fine. You shouldn't have a problem with the height, but it's just the length. So I'm just going to get some tape on. We don't need this much tape, but it's okay. And then I'm going to just get right. So it probably looks a bit fiddly because you've got these things flapping away here, but just if you put the side panel, one of them up, and then tuck that in to the crease, you should be good to go. And then this side, you would have already checked that side, so that's fine. It's just to make sure that, because when you've got score lines as well, it sort of creates almost like a little ridge, so if you do that, then it helps to line it up. Right, so now we've got our background, we've got our waves. So what you're going to do is you're going to put them face down, you're going to line them up, get them as level as you can with the base, if it will stop moving. And then you're going to take the tape off, so your tape is exposed here. Come back. And then you're going to take this side panel and you're going to squash it on there. Right? Ta-da! And then what you're going to do is you're going to take this. Actually, let me just check something. Oh no, it should be fine. And then you're going to take this tape off. Oh, she says. I might have to get new tape. Right, I am going to just, you shouldn't need to do this if your tape is narrow enough. And then I'm going to bring this panel, you're not going to fold this up, you're just going to bring that front facing panel, what's going to be the front of your card, and just line it up with the that's it, and just line it up there. So totally did the thing not. Right, you ready? So this measures 5.5, just over 5.25, so it will fit in a standard envelope, so that's awesome, and it's that flat, right? Unless you put dimension inside, that's your flatness of your card, but when somebody opens it, that's what they'll get, this dimensional doobry what's it. See, one of my oceans is a bit, waves is a little high, but that's okay. When you're looking at it head on like that, oh there you go, when you're looking at it like that, it's perspective, isn't it? So now we just need to decorate this bad boy. I'm just making sure that's down. So you could have, once you get the technique of the box down, you could decorate before you fold everything together, if that makes sense. If you have an idea, you can go back and forth before you actually stick the final pieces together, i.e. these two onto your side panel and then your front piece. You could do that, but if not, then this is just a way to do this. So what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to have, these are my seaweeds and I'm actually going to use this as a guide. That's another thing, when a lot of stamp companies will give you ideas on the back of things, of the packaging, so don't forget to look at that, because that's a good guide for this. So that's also another reason why I wanted to do this, it's just to show you the basics of it. I've used similar colours. Obviously it's not totally my idea as far as the design goes, but I'm going to use the dyes in here, so I'm mixing it up with their idea and making it my own. That's the idea behind it. So all this cardstock, by the way, is Stampin' Up! Cardstock. So I've got Night of Navy, I've got Pool Party, one of my favourites, Smoky Slate, these are Pool Party as well. This one I believe was Powder Pink. Then I have Old Olive, Mossy Meadow and Pear Pizzazz. So just so you know. Right, so I'm going to should I use that? Oh, I don't know. I'm going to wing this. Oh, if I can pick the thing up. I prefer a dry adhesive just because it's easier, but wet adhesive, once it's on there, it won't go nowhere. So once it's stuck on there, it ain't going anywhere. Oh, I probably need to move that down a bit because of the sentiment. But when people have this, they can look like all over like that. I just think it's so cool. Right, I want this one on the other side. And this is what I mean, I'm just following that as a guide to where to put things. But you guys know you can do whatever you like. You might look at something and go, oh actually, this would look neat like this, or you know, whatever. Sometimes I find that once I've seen somebody do something, like, you know, their creation and all that, I suddenly think, oh actually, this might work, or that might work, or what if we did this as well, you know, and then it sort of spirals from there. So I think my little whale dude's going to go there. Or is he going to go in the front? No, he's going to go in there. A whale dude. I probably should have given him an eyeball. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Right. I probably Need a bit more in the front here because we've just got waves there, but we're gonna roll with it. Actually, before I do that, let's do the sentiment so that I can. So do you see how cool that's starting to look? Isn't it cute? I do think I need more in there. And yeah, my one wave is too high, but like I say, this is the first time I've played with it proper, so I think it still looks cute. But let's get the sentiment done and then we'll see what we can do. Maybe we'll put the sentiment at the bottom rather than the top. So I've got my, this is a stamp, oh what's this thing called? Stamp Perfect. And like I say, I have pre-done this, oh crack. I have pre-done this so that I could curve the stamp so that it'll fit nicely on the ad. This is the banner that cuts out of the add-on set for this, and I've got Night of Navy that coordinates then with the cardstock. If you don't, it doesn't matter, just find a you know, an ink that will will work with. So often, you know, same, you can have the same colour but different shades and they will work together. So excuse the squeaky thing. I still haven't oiled that. Actually, when I first did this, somebody actually suggested some lavender oil. So I shall actually do that. So, and yes, I've taped it on here just because I find it better for me. Rather than the magnets, especially being such a small piece as well. I just found that easier. So here's our celebrate. I'm so silly. Right, so because I've got this thing with the waves and that, I think I'm going to put it at the bottom actually. Celebrate. Let's celebrate. Right, where should I put this, guys? I don't want to distract from all the whaley. Whaley. I think I'm going to put it at the bottom, just because. Yeah, I'm going to put it at the bottom. You can use some foam adhesive to... Oh, let's do that. I wasn't going to do things like that, but let's do that. Let's do it. Right, where is it? Oh, there. Right, I've got these weeny little ones. Let's see. So you don't want it to interfere with the, you know, all the open spaces and stuff. So you have to be a little careful where you put this. But I think this should hopefully work. Aha. Right, so there we've got that so far. Oh, it looks kind of cute. And then I'm going to put these guys. I am going to just, I've got 3 shells, so I'm just going to pop them on either side here. And don't forget, you can always fold it flat to sort of position things if you need to. I have one more. Where should I put this little dude? Should I put it up here? Oh, that's cute. You could do that. You could have that on all four corners with the shells. That'd be cute, wouldn't it? That'd be cute, wouldn't it? Yep, I talk to myself quite a lot. So the only thing to be aware of is when you're working around the frame, and even on the yeah, you see I've done it there, thing I'm saying not to do. It's just be aware of where your adhesive is, so that you don't stick it to itself. Which is what I nearly did. And the bubbles, I don't know if I even need the bubbles. I might not bother with the bubbles. Should I bother? Yeah, let's put the bubbles on. Let's just stick them in the background somewhere. It's one of those things I kind of feel like I've cut them out, I may as well use them, you know? Let's just put that there. The adhesive will dry clear, so it's a bit messy at the minute. I do feel like I should have had something else on this front bit, but that's okay. Right, so I think we're there, and I'm all stickied right up. Lovely. Right, so there you go, guys. And like I say, it's very easy. It folds flat. Look at that. Even with some dimension on the front, folds flat. Go in a standard envelope, and there's your little scene and your shedder box card. It obviously stands up like that, so you can see the depth that you've got there, and then that's where it is there. Let me zoom in for you. So look at that. Isn't that cute? I just think it's so cool. So what you want to bear in mind, what you want to think about when you're creating it is, when you've got it flat like this, straight head on, what's your scene going to look like? Because at any angle you're going to see that it's, you know, like the seaweed's just floating in mid-air there. But you could have, you know, it's just a case of seeing it from this perspective, so that you can see where your images need to go. So there you go. It's fairly simple to do, I've got to say. It wasn't too bad. Like I say, I'd watched enough of Lawn Fawn's videos to understand how to put it together, even long before I even bought it. So it's quite an easy thing to do, and I think you could even, if you didn't have the dies, you could create one if you just sort of thought about how, you know, what pieces you would need, and, you know, doing the measure. If you're clever like that. I'm not clever like that, so I can't think like that, so I like that with the die. But if you don't, there is, you know, it's not creating shadow boxes isn't a difficult thing. It's been around for years, so give it a whirl, and I will see you in the next one, guys. Bye.